Vigil, Ante, and the Vigilante Antics by BelleAmant. Read by Oakshadow5. Chapter 45. Preparations. The days blend together for Izuku in a mix of studying and creating, and sometimes Izuku forgets to stop and take in the moment. Then, there are times like today, where Izuku feels as if he can focus on the present and just go through the motions of a single day, not focusing on what's ahead and what's already past. How ironic that Izuku feels this way, while studying for his quickly approaching finals. Yaoyorozu had offered to host a study session in the short break between homeroom and first period, saying that her house had plenty of room. Practically everyone had agreed to come, with Bakugo being the only one who didn't want to join in. Shoto had agreed to come, but said that he would be late. "I'm going to see my mother," Shoto explained to him later that day, and Izuku understood perfectly. He too would have given up time with his peers to see his mom, but there's still so much to be done, so much to build, before he can do the same. Izuku and Itachi left the house, the house, an hour before Yaoyorozu expected anyone to be there. They had waved off Yamada's offer to drive them, preferring the walk, preferring to be alone, away from their caretakers. Izuku had noticed recently that being around Aizawa and Yamada was weird. They were too soft around him, around Hitoshi. It wasn't how they acted at school. They were never as professional, as distanced. In the house, the husband and husband duo asked how the boys were, if they had enjoyed themselves, and more. A part of Izuku screamed that the men were acting parental, but Izuku shoved that part down and buried it under every other thought he could find. It was a foolish thought, to think that anyone but his mother would want to call Izuku their own. And if Izuku came with Hitoshi, they wouldn't want them both. And if they were treated exactly the same, it was obvious that they weren't considering Hitoshi as their son. So, their kindness and suspiciously fond looks drove Izuku up the wall, and he was all too happy to walk. Thank you very much. Izuku and Hitoshi reached Yaoyorozu's mansion of a house about 15 minutes early, which was fine by them. They were the first ones there, but that wasn't a problem at all. A few minutes later, Tena showed up, and then the others joined in over time. Which leads to the present, where Izuku teaches Ashido, Kirishima, and Kaminari about prepositional phrases. At some point, the group of 19 had split into multiple, smaller groups based on what subject they were covering, and Izuku had ended up as the English tutor. By the couch, Tena was lecturing about math, while Yaoyorozu spoke about art history by the windows. In a bit, they'd likely switch up the subjects, giving their brains a partial rest, but for now, Izuku is simply playing his part. And, after a while, Izuku stops, taking a chance to grab some water as his peers let out relieved sighs. He snores when Kaminari drops to the floor, and nearly chokes on his water for it. Ashido flops onto her stomach, letting her face hit the carpet, and Izuku has to stop drinking long enough to get all of his laughter out of his system. When is the last time I laughed in a group like this? Izuku wonders for a second, and promptly ignores the thought, instead turning into the grumbling from Kaminari. "English means nothing," Kaminari whines. "Why do we have to know this? We're going to be pro-heroes, not translators." "A lot of heroes use English to communicate around unsuspecting villains," Izuku explains calmly. "They also do this with sign language." Izuku and Itachi have picked up normal sign, but they always revert back to their own version instead. It's still funny, watching Yamada and Aizawa as they try to comprehend what the duo talks about during the silent conversations. "You should also think of tourists," Tena adds in, his group apparently stopping, and Yaoyorozu chimes in seconds later with a helpful, "American heroes come by too, and you need to be able to speak with your allies." "And don't forget that villains may try speaking English to throw off their opponents," Hitoshi says, and Kaminari once again. "That's stupid. Stupid villains make me learn a second language," Kaminari mutters, and Izuku offers an awkward smile. "Well, we're moving on from English for now, at the very least." "Thank Kami," Ashido says. "I don't think I can handle any more. My brain might melt." Kirishima, at the very least, gives Izuku a grateful smile from where he sits. "Thanks for teaching us, Nido bro," Kirishima cheers. "You're like the president of the day." And wow, Izuku was not expecting that. He doesn't quite know how to feel about that one. "Ah, thanks," Izuku says. And yeah, he's pretty sure his smile is more of a grimace because Hitoshi is giving him a look. So Izuku fixes his smile enough that Hitoshi nods, satisfied. Izuku is more like All Might, Shoto says, raising his hand and bringing attention to his position in Yaoyorozu's little study group. And All Might had his trip to the States, so it makes sense that Izuku would know English. I'm still not related to All Might. Izuku interrupts. You know this, Shoto. You've met my parents, after all. And wow, it also feels weird to call Aizawa and Yamada his parents, because that's not what they are. They're just his legal guardians. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You met his parents? Kaminari asks, eyes wide. Are you sure you two aren't dating? Izuku sighs, and he hears Hitoshi snort from across the room. We are not dating, Kaminari-kun. Shoto and Tenya met them at the hospital. Oh, Kaminari lets out, and then he pulls out a few yen and passes them to Jiro, who smirks and pockets the money. Great. If you're done asking about my non-existent relationships, Izuku drawls out. Perhaps now is a good time to continue studying? Kaminari groans, and studying resumes. Izuku promptly shoves all sorts of families and dating out of his head, and carries on. And all is well. Everyone knows that eyes are the windows to the soul. That much is true, and Izuku has acknowledged this fact since he was young. Eyes hide nothing if left unshuttered. Emotions leak out, unperturbed, giving away the true intentions of the user. Eyes reveal everything, if one looks long enough. It's why Izuku's fakest smiles always involve his eyes squeezing shut, so no one can see how his eyes cry out. Eyes are also awful to recreate, especially out of mechanical bits and bobbles. But life is awful, and that has never stopped Izuku from continuing onwards. The boy sits at his work table, focused and patient as he attempts to make a perfectly smooth orb. And then he has to recreate it, once he perfects the first. The technological parts aren't an issue. Izuku has figured out how to make their eyes see, how to make sure that his mother won't be stuck in a shell that leave her blind and unmoving. He knows what to do, it's just that doing it correctly takes time. Time that he may have, but time that forces him to be under a villain's control, hurting those who don't deserve it by spilling secrets that aren't his. Eyes are the windows to the soul, and if Izuku's are weeping right now, he'll hide it with a smile. Oh my gosh, it's a quick break chapter, study chapter, and us looking into Izuku's thoughts. That last part, oh my gosh, eyes are the windows to the soul. But anyways guys, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 45 of Vigil, Ante and the Vigilante Antics, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!